Hello, Tiffany Capello here from A Transformed Life. And today I want to talk to you about 5 steps that you need to take to recover from anxiety. The first step is to figure out what hasn't been working. For so many years, when I had anxiety, I would just keep doing the same thing over and over and over. I would go to the same therapist, even though it wasn't working. I would try the same supplements, even though it wasn't making a difference. I don't know why I did that, but I just had to be doing something, right? So figure out what's not working. If your therapist isn't working, you need to find someone else. I'm not downing medication at all because medication can be important in your anxiety recovery, and some people really need it. Okay, so don't feel guilty, don't feel bad if you need to rely on medication as part of your recovery process, but know this, that medication isn't solving the underlying problem. It's not really resolving the anxiety, it's helping you to manage. And you want to keep in mind that your goal should be to resolve anxiety. So also, a lot of people deal with anxiety by avoiding triggers. Avoiding triggers doesn't really work. You'll feel better, but you're not ultimately solving the problem. If you have social anxiety, you're going to feel better if you stop socializing. If you have anxiety with public speaking, you're going to feel better if you just don't advance your career in a way that gives you the opportunity to public speak. If you have relationship anxiety, yeah, you'll feel better maybe if you don't date, but you're going to be lonely. Okay. But this is a typical coping strategy. It's something I did for years. If I get anxiety going to the grocery store or driving, doing these things, I'm just going to stop doing them. Okay, ultimately, it's not a solution. So think about what you're doing that's not working. Write it down. These strategies, your meditations, your affirmations, a lot of them are good. If something is working for you, of course, keep it up. If your medication is helping you to navigate, keep taking it. But always know that you need to deal with that underlying root, and always know that you just don't need to manage your anxiety. You can actually recover. So, step 2 is to identify the root causes. Why are you struggling with anxiety? And that could be a multitude of things. First thing you need to think of is sometimes it's just self abuse. You're working too many hours, you're not getting enough sleep, you're eating a poor diet. Your nervous system and your brain and your biochemistry need healthy practices to function properly. So take a look at those things in your life. Am I doing these things? Am I getting some movement and exercise? Am I sleeping 7 or more hours a night? Am I eating a nutritious diet? Okay. Another thing you need to take a look at is that past trauma. If you've been to any kind of therapy, you probably have explored that trauma, and that's great, but it's not just exploring it, it's healing and resolving it. And also, beliefs. What beliefs do you have in your mind that are contributing to your anxiety? So it's about identifying these root causes. I guarantee you, even if you identify that your trauma has a lot to do with your anxiety, it's not just the things that happen to you, but it's the beliefs that you developed about yourself, about the world, about spirituality, about other people. It's those beliefs that are keeping you locked into this state of anxiety. If you want to learn more about what limiting beliefs might be blocking you, I'm going to put in the description section a link to a limiting belief checklist. Slowly go through that checklist and ask yourself if you believe those things on that list, and it's going to help you to identify some of the limiting beliefs that may be causing anxiety. Now, if you do this checklist and you end up checking a lot of it, because literally I could have checked everything on this checklist at one time. If you begin to notice that you're checking a lot, don't get discouraged. It's just your thinking, okay? And your thinking can shift, it can change. Doesn't matter if you have 40 negative beliefs or if you have 5, all of it can be shifted, okay? Another thing is to learn about and identify what's called cognitive distortions. Cognitive distortions are distorted ways that you think. And so it's not about specific beliefs, it's about thinking patterns. Now, if you're wondering what cognitive distortions are, I'm not going to go into them in detail in today's video, but tomorrow I am going to cover the major cognitive distortions. And this video is going to help you identify which cognitive distortions you may have fallen prey to so you can begin to work your way out of them. Another thing that you need to identify is looping thought patterns. This is those repetitive thoughts that keep coming and coming, bothering you. The reason why you're having these repetitive thoughts is because your subconscious mind is trying to get you to resolve something. Now, that something may not be an actual real danger. It may be triggered by something that happened in your past, something in your life now that resembles something that happened in your past. Your brain is convinced you're not safe, so it's sending these repetitive, looping thoughts at you continually, trying to get you to take action to fix it. And sometimes, as you know, there's nothing you can do to fix it. So that's where we have to heal these things, shift them within the subconscious mind. Now, I'm going to include a link in the description section of this video to another video I did on how to stop those looping thoughts. There's something you can do each and every day that will stop that repetitive pattern, because those thoughts can really terrorize us. Okay, so step 3, making sure I hold up the right amount of fingers because I have a knack for not doing that, is to use identification tools to help you, okay? You need to know what you're dealing with when you're recovering from anxiety. So I already suggested that you check out my limiting belief checklist. That's really going to help you. But another practice I recommend is called journaling to freedom. This is where you explore things like anger, guilt, shame. You look at the different emotions, fear, sadness, and you just write about them. Things that make me sad now, things that made me sad in the past, things that I'm worried might make me sad in the future. So you take each emotion and you look at it from what used to affect you, what's affecting you now, what you worry about in the future, and you just journal on those. You journal on those on a daily basis, and it's just a free flow, okay? You're just writing. You're not worried about grammar. You're not worried about perfect speech. You're not worried about how eloquent you sound. You can write, you can speak into your phone, into Google Documents, whatever works for you, doesn't matter. I also have a video on journaling to freedom that I'm going to also put in the description below if you want to learn more about that. So this tool will help you to see certain belief and thinking patterns that are creating anxiety in your life. And of course, now I'm going to talk about my favorite transformational hypnosis. With the help of a skilled transformational hypnotherapist, you can actually explore your subconscious mind. Exploring your subconscious mind in the subconscious helps to bring up emotions and beliefs and thinking patterns that you may not even be aware of on a conscious level that are contributing to your anxiety and depression or your panic attacks. So step 4, now that you've identified what's going on, now that you have a clear picture, is to reprogram your thinking. So I have several tools you can use to help you with that. Of course, my first and most favorite is transformational hypnosis. It's why I do what I do. I help people to reprogram their thinking so that you move out of that fearful thinking, that fear-based thinking based on this past programming, and you move into an empowered thinking. You begin to think like happy people think, okay? Like peaceful people think. Another technique you can use on your own is to write a letter to yourself, okay? Just imagine that you're sitting across from yourself and you're watching yourself struggle. You're watching yourself be afraid. Write a letter to yourself as if you were your own best friend. And it often helps us to become an observer to ourselves. When we step outside of ourselves and our own mind and we take a look at life situations, we realize things are a lot different from this perspective out here. And so writing a letter to yourself can really be helpful to get you to see where your thinking has gone awry, to give you a new perspective on your life. Another great exercise that I really recommend is think about those limiting beliefs that you've identified, those negative thought patterns you've identified, and then look at them specifically. So let's say you have the belief, I am stupid. Okay, I'm just not smart. I'm stupid. I want you to look for evidence of past success, evidence in your life now and in the past that these things aren't true. Look at all the things you've learned. You've learned to walk, you've learned to read, you've learned to add and subtract, you've learned everything that's necessary for the career you currently have. All of the information from 12 years of education that you've managed to learn. Clearly, you're not dumb, okay? I just use that one as an example. But oftentimes, there's so much evidence in our past that we are so much more awesome. But we've got this negative tapes that are programmed in and they just keep playing and playing. And if you're troubled and thinking, well, you don't understand, Tiffany, all the evidence is pointing to the fact that my limiting beliefs are true, I want you to remember one thing is that you live out on a day-to-day basis what you believe. And I know this is hard to understand, but when your beliefs shift, your life begins to shift. And if you were taught from the time you were little that you were unworthy or unlovable, you will live that out in your behavior and actions and who you choose to be in a relationship with. It's not that you're actually unworthy or actually unlovable, but that belief is so entrenched and so strong that it's dictating and governing the way you think, the way you live, the way you behave, the choices you make. And once that shifts, everything begins to shift out here as well. Okay. So you can reframe and neutralize that within the subconscious mind. And that's what I do with transformational hypnosis. Okay. Step 5, and this is the one that people often neglect, okay, is to heal your nervous system. Now, for some of you, that's simple. Once your thinking shifts, your nervous system heals. It just goes back. You find yourself living in a state of calm and non-reactivity. Your body feels peaceful. But some people need to do additional somatic or nervous system work. So the first and most important thing, how do you know if you need to do this work? Okay. So working with anxiety is a top-down approach. Okay. With transformational hypnosis, I'm working by changing and shifting the subconscious thinking, and then the body begins to settle. But sometimes the body doesn't settle completely. You may have even recovered and feel better, but your body just feels tense and nervous. And that's where you need to work also from a bottom-up approach, and you need to lovingly reassure your own body and your own physiology that you are safe. Now, we usually see nervous system dysregulation that is still present after someone has shifted their thinking. We usually see that in people that have had a lot of really early childhood trauma, like myself. I'm talking about especially pre-verbal trauma, things that happen to you, unsafety, lack of connection with your parent, your mother, your father, in early childhood, before you form the capacity to think things through, to verbalize, to form thought, and this trauma gets stored within the body. And then you'll have those visceral nervous reactions, even though you aren't thinking anxious thoughts. That's a sign that your nervous system is dysregulated. So the first thing you need to do is just begin to notice the shifts in your body. And I have to be careful with this one, because some people literally develop an obsession with noticing symptoms in the body. And they do that in a state of fear. Oh no, I'm feeling nervous. Oh no, I noticed a subtle shift. And we see this a lot in people with nervous system dysregulatory illnesses like chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia. These are real illnesses, but this is often a pattern within the context of those illnesses. So when you're learning to heal your nervous system, you need to approach any tightness, symptoms that you're dealing with curiosity, not fear. Because remember that your body's responses are always to protect you, okay? Your brain and your body send you these loving messages. I'm going to give you an example from my own life. So because of early childhood trauma, I developed a tic disorder. And it wasn't Tourette's syndrome, it was a nervous tic. And even to this day, you might notice it on one of my videos if you're looking very carefully. Because even though I do this for a living, I'm not perfect, still working on myself. And so I would tic in my shoulder. Sometimes I would shift to the side or have other nervous tics. And they still pop out from time to time, to be honest with you. It's something I am working on as I heal my nervous system, because the early childhood trauma for me was very, very severe. So even though I don't have anxious thoughts, even though I'm not filled with all of the negative thinking I was, my body is still learning that I'm safe. But instead of getting upset about my little tic or the tension that might build in my body from time to time viscerally, I view it as a loving message. It's my body saying, I don't feel quite safe. Now it's my job, because I love myself and I've learned to care for myself, to send a message of safety to my body. I have two favorite methods for doing that. These are the most powerful, the most effective, the most clinically validated methods for calming the nervous system. One is the core state breathing technique that I teach my clients. The other is called havening. I have a video teaching you how to do both of these techniques to calm your nervous system. And I will also link those videos below in the description so you can watch those. So whenever you begin to feel those subtle shifts, you just notice the tightness, the tension within your body, look at it with curiosity and say, okay, my body needs reassurance of safety. You can do the core state breathing technique. It literally only takes a minute or two. No one will even know you're doing it. You could practice havening, send that message of safety to your body. So I hope this video was helpful to you today. These are the 5 things that you really need to do if you want to have victory over your anxiety. Because when it comes to anxiety, we want to move out of anxiety and into peace of mind, okay? Just living with your anxiety, that wasn't good enough for me. I'm sorry. It wasn't good enough for me. I wanted to move past it, because if you think about it, what do we all really want? More than the best job, the perfect relationship. We really just want peace of mind. And if you get all these things without peace of mind, you're missing the most important part of your life. We just want peace. And when you're living in that state of anxiety, whether it's in your thoughts or even in your body, that peace is hard to come by. So I hope you will look at those links below and begin to move in the right direction by applying these 5 steps to recovering from anxiety. If you need more help, I'm always here to help you. That's why I make these videos. My website link is also in the description below, and I hope to hear from you, and I will see you again soon.